Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John, this is Miniatruna, and welcome to Tell Me Everything, a game which I find very hard to define. I mean, I guess it's kind of a puzzle game, in a way, sort of a strategic puzzle game, but really what it is it's an interrogation simulator, and it's a fascinating one too. In fact, it might actually have the most interesting interrogation mechanic I've seen since LA Noire. You see, rather than selecting options or anything, I am literally having to actually build sentences out of a given number of words. I actually have to write out a sentence using the words that are available. In this case, the game just wants me to build ice cream sandwich. As you select words, some words become unavailable because you can't say ice Belgium, because that would be weird. You can say ice attacks or ice 7, which apparently makes more sense, but the game wants me to say ice cream sandwich. And then once I've selected all the words I'm happy with, I actually click down here, and thus I actually say the thing. So yeah, it's a fascinating little thing here. So we've got a murder case, we've got 3 suspects, 1 is guilty. And if I ask people the right questions, then as a result, golden words, new words, might enter my vocabulary, which I can then go on to also theoretically throw at my other suspects. However, I've got to be a little bit careful because eventually my suspects might reach breaking point and become unreliable. So I've read the rules there, so I think I understand. I also understand purple. You are making absolutely no sense right now. So yeah, luckily you don't get penalised if you say something the game doesn't understand. Okay, I don't understand purple, but what I do say is, I understand. So last night, an unknown assailant has stabbed Mr. Victim in his antique store in central Railwad City around 8 in the evening. A dove feather was placed on his forehead and silver coins placed on his eyes, 1 on each. The shopkeeper had no known enemies. We brought in 3 suspects for questioning. Okay, stabbed in an antique store, dove feather, silver coins. So, let's see. I would say bring in the... Actually, no. I don't want to say that just yet because I don't know who the suspects are. So, who are the suspects? I love this system. It's really cool. So we've apprehended 3 suspects. Mr. Red's car was seen parked outside the antique store, but around the time of the murder, it left in a hurry according to witnesses. Okay, Mr. Red seems a little bit on the suspicious side. Mrs. Blue was the last customer who saw the owner alive, but for reasons unknown, her name was written in large letters in the shopkeeper's calendar. Okay, also of interest. Dr. Green lives just above the shopkeeper, but returned from the theatre around the time of the murder, but saw and heard nothing suspicious. Right, well, he did it. Dr. Green 100% did it, and I can also contact the constable for case details. Lovely. So I can contact them with 1, 2, 3, and 4. Good luck, detective. So, let's start off with Mrs. Blue, because we've got a nice easy thing we can ask her straight away. So now I've got myself a giant pile of words. I need to make sentences. So, let's start off with the thing we know here. So, why was your... And do we have... We do have name. Why was your name... in the, or rather, well, let's actually go for in his journal. Why was your name in his journal, Mrs. Blue? Yes, we had a meeting planned to discuss me selling some antiques. This dealer has a really good eye for appraising finer works. I thought it would be good to know if any of my items had any value. It pains me to let them go, but a lady needs to live. I'm sure you understand. So she was planning to sell some antiques, but she wasn't actually selling them to him. He was just appraising them for her. Okay, that's interesting. And that has actually opened up some new words. But because I'm asking her questions, she's become a bit frustrated. So over time, we'll eventually have to leave her alone. Let's see if we can dig a little bit more in. Because, yeah, now we've got a great big pile of golden words that have appeared. Not just here, but for any of the other suspects too. So this seems good. What antiques did you have? And, quite a few. My husband sadly passed away not that long ago. He left me with quite a few things. So, she had a husband, he passed away. Interesting. Okay, what has that actually opened up? Yeah. Here's one thing we can do. What happened to your husband? And he sadly overdosed on his medication. Luckily, I was on holiday myself, so I was spared the horror. Still, my life was shattered. Okay, but her frustration's getting really high. Intriguing. And does that actually get into... Yeah. So hang on, let's just dig into this a little bit more here. So what medication Yeah, what medication did your husband take? And it was mostly Harmalex and then some Bawarazole to ease the pain. My husband was not good at being organised and sometimes switched the bottles. Funny story. Oh, well, this is interesting. Funny story. Dr. Green, who was my husband's personal doctor, lives right above the antique store where the horrible murder happens. Right, okay. She didn't do it, but clearly that's going to be important. So, yeah, fine. I see. Or I could say quite suspicious. I'm just going to say I see. And she's getting a bit more frustrated, so it's probably time to move on here. Hang on. Who was Mr. Red again? Was Mr. Red the guy who had the car? Yeah, remind me about the suspects. Okay, Red's car was seen parked outside and around the time of the murder left in a hurry. Blue was... yeah, okay, we already know quite a lot about Blue. And Green lives just above the shopkeeper. Alright, let's go and have a chat to Mr. Red, please. So, why were you at the shop? Because your car was right there. You're making... I'm making quite a lot of sense. Okay, what about crime scene? How about that then? There we flipping go. I had a phone call about a guy needing to get something fixed immediately. I thought it was a broken pipe or something like that, so I jumped into my car and drove out here. Turned out it was some kind of weird prank, I guess. No one answered the door once I arrived, so I hung back in the area for a while, then noticed the time and I had to leave. How very convenient. So he claims... well, okay. Potentially, Dr. Green, who I'm going to guess did it just like I originally called, Dr. Green might have put the phone call in order to lure him here so that this guy would take the fall. But it is a coincidence he'd drive away at pretty much the exact point of the murder. Yes. So let's see what we can do here. Asking him about that. Ah. No golden words have actually shown up here. Let's just go for a bit of a wild one here. By any chance, do you know Dr. Green? I don't think I know him. He was the dude with the loud music that lives above the antique shop, right? I saw him on the street outside the shop staring at the antiques. Okay. Interesting. Something to do with music. I've just asked him when he left the scene. So he saw the grandfather clock, so he knows, therefore, it was exactly 7:20. Had to get to the construction site before 7:30. It was quite a drive. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Fine. Let's move on. By any chance have you cooled down? Okay, so she's cooled down at this point in the intervening moments. Now, Dr. Green, we have so many things to talk with you about. So let's start off nice and simple here. What did you see? Because, yeah, we know from Mr. Red's testimony that this guy was outside the store. You're making absolutely no sense right now. Okay, need to be a bit more specific. Can I just straight up ask, did you kill Mr. Blue? And are you honestly trying to frame me for murder? While you've already got a completely unsolved case in your lap. Mr. Blue died years ago. Move on. Okay, fair enough. Maybe he didn't do it, or if he did, it's going to take a little bit more convincing. Right, well, he's a little bit frustrated, a tiny bit. I'd be angrier than that if someone had just randomly accused me of murder. Okay, so where was he last night? Well, I was at the theatre till 8, and then I went home. Luckily, it was not that far away, so I took a brisk 10-minute walk. It's good for both lungs, legs, and waistline. I'd recommend introducing such habits into your life, detective. So he claims, yeah, theatre till around 8. Hang the flip on here. So Mr. Red says he arrived 7:20ish. No, he left 7:20ish to make it to the construction site at 7:30. And this guy is saying he was at the theatre until 8. Yeah, Red says that he saw this guy standing in the street staring at the antiques. So that puts him at the scene between 7:20 and 7:30 when he claims he was at the theatre. Okay, hang the flip on here. Yeah, confirmation there. Exactly 7:20 when he drove away. So we've got ourselves a problem with the timings here. Now, let's talk about this grandfather clock with Mrs. Blue, who seemed to have been inside the store. No, that sounds horrid. Mostly I sold portraits and paintings, some furniture as well. I had some original munchers I didn't really appreciate anymore. Never got to finish the deal before Mr. Victim died. Such a sad thing, he was a sweet young man. Fine, so nothing certain there. Where were you last night? After I was at the antique store, I took a cab straight home. There I had a long bath, read a book and went to sleep. Before you ask, Mr. Detective, yes, I was by myself, alone. Okay, hang on, let's see if we can actually get some timings down here. When did you last see the victim? Here we go. I arrived at 7:30 in the evening and left around 9. I drove my car to and from the antique store, so I had some of my antiques with me in the back of the car. Didn't want to take any chances, you see, especially not if they're worth what I think they are. Well, hang on. The timescales started making even less sense now. So, Mr. Red arrives 7:20. No, Mr. Red arrives at some point, leaves at 7:20 to go to a construction site at 7:30. She arrives at 7:30. Dr. Green arrives home at about 8, I believe he says, and then, yeah, is supposed to be home at that point. But Red vaguely indicated that he saw Green looking through the window at 7:20. Ah, this is interesting. So the police constable is also gaining golden words. So let's see if we can start verifying some of these stories. In fact, there's loads of things I can actually ask this police guy. Should have started with him. So what was the time of death? Coroner puts the time of death around 8. Give or take an hour both ways. Okay, so therefore we know that he died pretty much bang on 9. Because, well, unless of course Mrs. Blue is lying. But if she's there between 7:30 and 9, he dies at an hour each way. That means it pretty much has to be 9. Unless, of course, Mrs. Blue is lying. Also, I can ask her if she plays the violin, by the looks of it. Sorry to disappoint, Inspector. I really do not. Fascinating. Let's ask after Mrs. Blue's husband a little bit more, because I feel like this is the best line of inquiry we've got. I'm not normally one to pass judgment. There seem to be some, well, conflicts. Okay. Ah, you can just say, tell me about the conflicts. Alright. Well, normally I don't get into clients' personal affairs. When I see a senior past his prime with a much younger woman deep into pearls and fur, listen, it's okay to be greedy, we all want our part. I'm sure they both got what they wanted, but I want to marry for love, not just for financial gain. Right. And she was supposedly very far away from him when he died. And she said, oh yeah, she said he switched the bottles. How about we just follow up about this a little bit? So, now that we know about this, tell me about the drugs. And, okay, so the Bawarizol, quite lethal in larger doses, was also called off the market. I'll never forget the jingle from the radio ads. Doctors who dare better not stare, always beware of Bawarizol. Time to just leave him alone for a minute because he's getting too frustrated and he's also getting tired. Let's dig into her husband a little bit more. So overdosed on medication. Yeah, I was on holiday. Okay, how are we going to dig into this slightly more? Mr. Blue was a loving and great man, greater than I think you'll have ever seen, even if you were to look in the mirror. Okay, well this is suddenly interesting. Is she flirting with me right now? Are you... Hang on, can I ask if she's single? I can. Are you single? Detective! I think that's highly inappropriate. My husband may not be around anymore. That does not allow you to put me in this kind of position. Please never ask me such a question again. I see what you implied when you did that. Oopsies. I got an achievement for that. But she's not angry at all, which is interesting. Right, well, he's calmed down a bit, so I'm back to the doctor to learn more about the medicine. So, okay, you need to take an extreme amount for it to be harmful. A memory-enhancing drug only works for very specific cases and types of cognitive recollection, used to treat patients with obsessive-compulsive disorder or similar tendencies. Minimal side effects, basic shapes and such. Peculiar medicine, highly effective. Okay. interesting. Now, what's that potentially opened up? Now we know about the medicines. Now, what if I just basically say to the police officer that Mrs. Blue poisoned her husband? Listen, the tabloids already beat you to it. The death of old Mr. Blue is already way in the past. It was declared an accident. That's what it was. Don't go opening new cases till you finish the existing one. But I'm sure it's connected. That or it's not. I'm not sure. Ah, this is interesting. So he's finally opening up a little bit about the antiques. Fine, do you notice any special antiques? Let's ask about that grandfather clock. Now you mention it, I do remember something about a grandfather clock. Also, he seems to be fading into a black hole at the minute. That's intriguing. There was just the one. It was pretty dominant, had some special features about it. I can't quite remember what it was. Something round and odd. Okay. Why is everyone interested in the grandfather clock? By any chance, would the drug I know about... Yeah, would, hang on, some... Oh, no, yes, hang on. No, I'll get it in a second. Would some almanacs help you remember? Yes, hold on, it's worth a try. Have some in my bag. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm giving you that. Let's see, we've actually got ourselves some stuff here. So the grandfather clock, the shape was uninterrupted because both of the hands were missing. It was just an empty clock face. Couldn't even tell that... Oh! Oh my! Mr. Red! I think you, my good man, lied. Because you said you saw the time and you didn't. Oh, Mr. Red. Mr. Flipping Red. I think, yeah, we've got some questions to ask you. Let's just start asking him about his job. What's his job? So, okay. Yeah. You claim you saw the big grandfather clock. Go on, I'm just going to confront him with this. Did you kill the shopkeeper? Of course not. They're just preposterous. Why do you think I'd kill this man? For money. It's for money. Also, he's not angry at all. Oh, I can also ask him if he likes cake. Of course I do. Who doesn't? That's... Oh. He got too angry because I asked him about cake. Oh, that's a shame. I shouldn't have asked him if he liked cake. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Okay, pretty much back to where we were. We've just found something new, however. I've asked him what car he drives. And yeah, has a nasty habit of making a loud noise whenever it starts. Now, logically... If he did leave the scene at 7:30, then no, Dr. Green wouldn't hear it. Mrs. Blue might have done, though. And this is perfect, because now I've got the word hear from the noise. Did you hear? Oh, come on. Come on, I'm on to something here. Did you hear it? There's got to be a way to ask her whether she heard the music. Someone's got to be asked if they heard the flipping music. Well, I can ask her about a loud noise as well. I did hear some kind of ruckus out on the street when I was talking with the antique store guy. I was a bit startled. It turned out to be a car. Okay, that actually makes sense, but did you see the driver? No, I don't believe I did. Okay. So, the car story does make sense, but that doesn't matter. He left the scene at 7:30. He could have come back at 9 to do the murder. Also, no, he's saying he heard a weird sound at one point around 7 or 8, but that's when he said he wasn't in. You specifically said earlier you only got back in at 8. I'll ask him if he saw where it came from, but you're not supposed to be here right now. You were supposed to be... Okay, new musical masterpiece. You were supposed to be at the theatre. Why does everyone's story keep changing? Right, back to Mr. Red. Does he have a... Do you have a witness is not a stupid question. Alright, it's a very important question. Everyone's acting a bit suspicious. I mean, Mrs. Blue is blatantly guilty of a previous murder. Dr. Green has changed his story flipping repeatedly. Sometimes he's out of the theatre, sometimes he's bloody not. And Mr. Red refuses to answer the fact that he claims he read the time off a clock that has no flipping hands. Oh, just for fun, I decided to directly accuse her of poisoning her husband. Now she said, don't trust Mr. Green. How ominous. Okay, Green. Green. Has that just opened up anything for you? Right, did you kill Mr. Blue? You want to try to frame me for murder when you already have this? Yeah, when you say murder, accident, I misspoke. Accident. Terrible tragedy. It's quite warm in here, isn't it? Right. I've decided arrest everyone. Just arrest absolutely flipping everybody. Honestly, Detective, you've clearly been watching far too many cheese detective movies lately. We know that only one of them did it. No, they've clearly all done something wrong. At the bare minimum, they've all lied to me at some point. You know what? I'm completely flipping lost, so I'm arresting someone. And I'm going to arrest Mr. Red. Because he's the person who's lied in the worst way, which is he's repeatedly said that he saw the time on a clock with no hands. So, he is lying, therefore. Like, the other two are probably complicit in a murder of some old guy a few years ago, but, like, this guy doesn't actually seem to care about that, so whatever. I guess we just, like, arrest Mr. Red, and that's all going to be fine. So, arrest Mr. Red! He obviously did it. We not only send an innocent man to jail, we let the killer walk free. Yes! Do it! Arrest Mr. Red! So, Red was near the scene of the crime during the murder. Nothing links Red to the actual murder. The judge ruled not guilty due to lack of evidence and or confession. Oh! It's not just about finding the right person. You've actually got to flip and have the right amount of evidence. Blimey! Okay, this is a bit more complex than I thought. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is Tell Me Everything. It's a fascinating idea. Not all of it works perfectly. Sometimes it's a bit fiddly trying to figure out the exact phrasings that are and aren't acceptable to the game. But I will say, it's a fun little idea. It's nicely put together. I like just kind of figuring out the puzzles. It's a nice way to do a little puzzly thing. That was variation A, I believe. So there's also a variation B, and I'm assuming variation C unlocks after you've done the first two. So yeah, it's not just about finding the right person, it's also about gathering enough evidence that it all actually stacks together. So yeah, I'm quietly impressed with this one. It's just a nice little thing. So link in the description below to this might well be of interest to you. I think it's fun and unique, and what more can you ask for from an indie game? Hopefully, indeed, we'll have more indie games of precisely that sort in future. But in the meantime, I've been John. This has been Many a True Nerd, and this has been Tell Me Everything. Thank you very much, and goodbye. I've created a small problem in my road system, which is, it's literally impossible for anyone to ever go back into town. And this building shall be where we produce our zebras. And this much taller building next door is naturally where we produce the giraffes. Does anyone remember how the road system went? I think it was something like this.